Welcome to Links and Locks, Action Network's golf betting podcast. I'm your host, Andy Lack, and I'll be joined alongside Action Golf contributor Tony Sartori for these best bets episodes. Tony and I will play 18 holes today, giving our nine favorite picks for this week's tour event, the President's Cup. Okay, Tony, we're on the first tee here for our President's Cup best bets. Get us started.
Yeah, so just like the Olympics, we're going to go a little smaller with our show for this episode just because there are such limited markets in which we can bet this event. But I'm going to kick us off in the team market itself and take the really lame pick, and that is the US to win in the three-way market at minus 250. They are just so, in my opinion, so clear in a way the superior team. And usually I'll never like give out a pick on the show where you're laying minus 250 really on anything, but it does feel safe to me. This is our event. It's always been our event. We've won 12 of the 13 President's Cups since this thing started, and the last time we lost was 26 years ago. And I think the gap between the two teams this year is as wide as it's really ever been. You have Scotty and Xander obviously at 1 and 2. The gap between just them two and the rest of the field is already astronomical. But then you look at the rest of our guys, you could argue we have 4 to 6 guys that are better than the international team's best players. We got Scotty, Xander, Colin. I think everyone would agree those three are the top three in the field. And then there are arguments that you can say Cantlay, Clark, and Burns are all better than either Kem or Hideki. That's where arguments can start to come in. But either way, at minimum, we have the three best players in the field. And there's an argument that we have the best five in the field. So it's just, it's going to be our event. It should be as it usually is. And I know minus 250 is not a fun play, but it feels like a safe one.
I like that play a lot. I'm with you. I expect the United States to win as well. I went a little bit more risky in terms of trying to call my shot here. I bet the US 17-13 exact score, 11-1. Um, you know, I don't know how much value I see on the side in either direction. I think the US side is a bit inflated as it should be because the US is 12-1-1 in President's Cup. With that being said, every single bone in my body believes that the United States is going to win, and the number isn't fat enough for me to take my chances on the international side. My projection of this event is that the US isn't going to dominate. They're not going to blow them out, but the internationals will always be kept at arm's reach. I think it will be competitive. I think there's going to be a few moments during the event where we say, well, if this, and this happen, the internationals have a chance to win. But the US will always have one or two fingers on the trophy, in my opinion. For what it's worth, the internationals have kept it a lot closer when it's not on American soil. The last two President's Cups on international soil, the US won 16-14 and 15.5 to 14.5. Now, I don't think it's particularly going to be as close as that because I think the top two on the American side this year in terms of their strokes baseline are as good as any top two the Americans have ever had in this format in the strokes gain era. I'm talking about Scotty Scheffler and Xander Schauffele. I think the U.S. made some bad picks at the back end of their roster. I think there are a few weak players on the U.S. side that I would pick on if they are favored against some international players in matchups. But all in all, I think this is a somewhat competitive event that the U.S. is kind of leading the entire time. Maybe they play with their food a little bit, but they never dominate in the way that I think we've seen some American President's Cups at Quail Hall and Liberty National in the past. I'm going to go with 17-13. That seems like a very reasonable outcome for the 2024 President's Cup.
I like it. I like it. I'm gonna go to the prop market and I'm gonna go after the top USA captain's pick. And I'm actually gonna target a guy who was extremely controversial when he was chosen, and that's Bryan Harmon at plus 350 be the top captain's pick, excuse me. And so the reason I like that is, and the reason I do like Harmon on our team this year is I do think there's probably more guys that deserve it, but this course fit for him should be pretty good. So what's gonna happen in Royal Montreal is it went under another renovation prior to this, and it array was a course that rewards accuracy over distance, which automatically helps Harmon a little bit. But that's going to be even more so this year. So the fairways are slimmer this year, and they're really growing out the rough. So they're really trying to penalize guys off the tee this year, and they really want you hitting your greens. And those are two things that that Harmon does really well. Harmon's main issue is usually his distance, right? And that is something that I don't think is going to play much of a issue this week. If you listen to a lot of the interviews this week, everyone's talking about accuracy, accuracy, accuracy over distance, which I think helps him. And if you look at the 6 captains picks, so the only 2 with shorter odds than Harmon are Sam Burns and Max Homa. Homa, in my opinion, is entering with the worst form out of anyone in this field. And I'm shocked that he's shorter than Harmon. And then Sam Burns, the one thing in his game that sometimes is not there is his driving accuracy. And I think with how thick they're trying to make the rough here and with these narrow fairways, that could put him in trouble this week. And so that's why, and then the 3 behind Harmon on the odds board, it takes a pretty big drop. Goes to Finau plus 650, Bradley at plus 750, and Henley at plus 900. I think Henley might be worth a flyer there at 9-1, but otherwise, if you're just looking at the top 3 guys, I think the most value is on Harmon at plus 350, despite him being such the controversial pick that he was this year.
I'm going to enter into the top overall point score market. I'm going to go with Sam Burns. And, I think if you're betting any American, I would bet the top overall points market. I wouldn't bet the top American market because I think a lot of us can agree that the US is going to win and are rightfully favored to win. So if they're going to be the top point scorer for the Americans, it's highly likely that they're going to be the top point scorer for the event because they're going to win more points than the international team, right? If they are winning the event. The reason I like Burns is simple. I do think that he'll be paired with Scotty Scheffler quite a bit in this match, in this tournament. And I know that him and Scotty were not super successful at the President's Cup together at Quail Hollow. They were not super successful either at the Ryder Cup at Marco Simone. With that being said, I think this is a better golf course for Sam Burns. I love the way that Sam Burns is playing. Sam Burns is entering this event as one of the hottest players on the PGA Tour. He had 4 consecutive top 12 finishes to finish the FedEx Cup playoffs. He was great at the BMW Championship. He was great in Memphis. He was great at Eastlake as well. I expect him and Scheffler to get a lot of run together. I know, again, that they didn't really perform up to the expectation that we would have expected in previous team events, but we know that they're great friends. At least they have that experience together. And you think about, okay, Scotty Scheffler, no matter who he's paired with, is going to be favored in every single matchup against every single international player. Suddenly, you get Burns at 12-1, the fatter number. Burns wins his Sunday singles match, and suddenly you're cashing that much bigger bet than you would have gotten on Scotty Scheffler at 6-7-1, just if Sam Burns can win his Sunday singles match. If you think that Scotty and Burns are going to be the wagon that I think they will be in this event. So I like the value there on Sam Burns, 12-1 top overall point scorer.
Yeah, I like that. That's a very good point with him being a pair with Scotty. I'm gonna go into the international team point scorer leader because, like you said, I don't. If I'm going into the overall, I obviously want to go after an American. But if you narrow down to just the international guys, I like Hideki at 7-1 to be the best point scorer. He's been awesome recently. He finished 3rd at the Olympics. He won the FedEx St. Jude Championship. Yes, he withdrew from the BMW Championship, but he was in like 4th or 3rd place after the first round when he withdrew. And then he came back and finished 9th at the Tour Championship. He has been more accurate than the field average in all 4 of those tournaments. He's gained true total strokes in all 4 of those tournaments, and he's gained true total strokes on the approach in all 4 of those tournaments. Those are the 3 things that you really want to look for this week, especially at a course, again, that's going to reward good approach shots and accurate tee shots. And if you combine that with his recent form, I think that makes him live because 7-1 makes him tied for the second choice odds only behind Sung-Jae. And given the recent form, Hideki's experience, and in fact, I mean, he just won a playoff event 3 weeks ago. I'll gladly take a shot on Hideki at 7-1 to be the top international team point scorer.
I'm gonna hit that same market with you. I'm going with Sung-Jae plus 650. I think both of the players that we're outlining here in Hideki and Sung-Jae, from a recent form, course fit standpoint, and in terms of their availability, I think will be probably the players that the international team will lean on the most. Maybe you get Adam Scott in that zone. He's got a ton of President's Cup experience and has been playing a lot of solid golf to end the season. Maybe we get a lot of Tom Kim. but I think that we will consistently see a ton of Hideki and Sung-Jae. You already talked about the Hideki case. My numbers prefer Sung-Jae on this golf course. He's a more accurate driver of the ball. He's a much better putter as well. He's had more success in President's Cups as well. His 5-3-1 record in President's Cup has actually impressed me. I was quietly impressed by what I saw from him last time out at Quail Hollow. And I like this golf course for him, particularly if it's more positional, and particularly if there's going to be an increased emphasis on putting inside 15 feet. I think Sung J M has a very good chance to be kind of the unsung hero for this international team and one of your most reliable options in terms of I think the floor is higher than any international player because he's a better putter. And I think that's going to be tremendously important in this event.
Absolutely. I mean, those two guys are the top favorites in that market for a reason. I like both of those. And so I'm gonna go after another specific market, and that's the top international team captains pick. And I'm gonna go with the chalk here and go after Corey Connors at plus 330. He is the favorite in this market. And to me, you're just getting the best ball striker on the international team at this number and only a six-man market. It's him, Siwoo, Mackenzie Hughes, Bezaden Hu, Minwoo Lee, and Taylor Pendrith is that market. Connors is by far the best ball striker in the market. Connors is one of the best ball strikers in the world. And that's just going to benefit him, especially when I go back to accuracy off the tee. He's been more accurate off the tee than the field average in 9 consecutive tournaments. Out of those 9, he's finished in the top 25 7 times. This is another high floor player like you were talking about with Sung-Jae. And again, he's just, if you always look at his strokes gains metrics, he's always not in the Xander and Scotty class, but he's right behind them in the ball striking metrics. And at a course that's going to reward accuracy and good ball striking, I just think that is the reason why he is the favorite in that six-man international team captain's pick market. And that's why I will take the bait on him being the favorite at plus 330.
Love that. I'm going to highlight another international, another Canadian, and take a bit of a flyer in the top international point scorer market. I'm going with Taylor Pendrith, 14-1. I just don't understand why this number is so high. My model actually has Taylor Pendrith as one of the highest upside plays for the international team. I love the way that he's hitting the ball at the moment. We know he's one of the better total drivers of the ball in this field. His irons have been unbelievable. I mean, he hit his irons incredibly well in the playoffs, and he's one of the best putters on the international team as well. I don't know how much opportunity he's going to get. I know that that's baked into the number. I mean, he literally has the longest odds on the international team, despite my numbers believing that he possesses some of the most upside. But I think the fact that he's Canadian may get him a little bit more run with Captain Mike Weir. And I think at the back end of this international team, they're going to ride the hot hand, right? So I think they'll rely a lot on Hideki and Sung-Jae and Adam Scott no matter what. But when it comes down to Pendrith and Mackenzie Hughes and Siwoo Kim and Benny On, I think they're going to see who's playing the best golf and ride that player. And I really think that Pendrith presents the most upside. I wouldn't be shocked if Pendrith comes out of the gates, plays well on the first day, that they keep rolling to him. So I'm going with Taylor Pendrith, top international point scorer, 14-1. I love that flyer.
Yeah, I'm gonna end on. I love that. I'm gonna end on a flyer as well. And this going back to earlier how we said if you're gonna do a top American point score, you might as well just do a top point overall score. And I'm gonna take one of the guy with the longest odds in this field, and that's Russell Henley at 40-1. I don't know why he's getting distributed. I'm sure because of the pairings he's probably gonna be forced to be with. But he is one of the hottest golfers in this field. He just finished fourth at the Tour Championship. He finished fifth at the Open and seventh at the U.S. Or sorry, fifth at the Open Championship, and then seventh at the U.S. Open. The guy is constantly flirting with winning in the biggest events of the year, and that is because, like I was talking about with Connors earlier, and then the likes of obviously Scotty and Xander, Russell Henley is one of the best ball strikers in the world. He's one of the most, you could argue, he's the most accurate guy off the tee in this entire event. He also has gained true strokes total on the approach in 12 straight tournaments, and he's also gained true total strokes in 11 of those 12. And he keeps flirting with these winning positions against extremely loaded fields. Again, the fourth at the Tour, the fifth at the Open Championship, and the seventh at the U.S. Open. I just think if you're gonna take any crazy flyer, 40-1, that literally makes him tied for the longest odds in the point scorer market for a guy who's probably gonna be on the winning team, a guy who's in some of the best form out of anyone in this field, and a guy who profiles well in terms of the course fit, considering how accurate he is off the tee and how good he is with his irons. So I just think that's gonna be a little dart throw. Just throw a little change at that one. At least that's what I'm doing. But Russell Henley top point score at 40-1 is my final play this week.
Love that. Always a big Henley fan over here. That'll do it for our best bets episode for the President's Cup. As a reminder, our action experts Spencer Aguiar and Nick Bretwish return with host Roberto Arguello tomorrow for our President's Cup betting preview right here on the Links and Locks podcast. So for Tony Sartori, I'm your host, Andy Lack, and we'll see you back here next week on the Links and Locks podcast.